started ground up. He had no capital. He was the manager. From the manager, he became owner. So things were very different because handling staff, handling the team was very different then. They saw him more as a father figure rather than a boss. Employment was very difficult, so people used to stick around for many, many years. Today, if you're sticking around in a company for more than 3 years, 4 years, then people think, "Yare, you know, तुम्हें कुछ problem है क्या?" So I think this is a wrong perception, but that's the way the market is right now. So what has changed between these three generations? The market has changed. Like I told you, the business has also changed. And then each generation has kept up with the time. I focused a lot when I focused completely and dedicatedly on the hotel and restaurant business, that is Wits and Kamats. I had to change many things that were different from before. Our latest brand, Kamat's Legacy, is a complete departure from the original Kamats. It's an upmarket premium vegetarian South Indian chain, and we've got it's a fine dining South Indian experience, which Kamat's was originally more into the common man everyday kind of concept, with the pricing also being accordingly. So with the times you have to change. Today in Bombay, if you see the rentals, it's not affordable to have the casual everyday dining concept. So, you have to change.
You mentioned about rental. Someone recently came on the podcast. They run a co-working space. $100 billion business. And
Okay.
so we were discussing the rental rate, and they said
Mm.
because the land acquisition rate is 300 rupees minimum, and
Yeah.
versus what in Delhi or Noida, Gurgaon, it's still. So yeah, rentals I think is a big part of it. But according
And
to you, Vikram, what is the biggest challenge when you're running a restaurant? What are the biggest challenges? Is it the talent, chef, getting the customer, pricing? What are the challenges you typically face?
I think the biggest challenge is you. You means yourself is the biggest challenge. And all these other challenges can be overcome with the right team. The right team sticks around or is selected basically by you. So I think the biggest challenge is you. And if you can handle yourself, or you can understand what's falling short where and rectify it, I think all the other challenges are not so big. In fact, coming to that rental part, if there is something available at 300, I'm going right now, leaving this interview and taking it, because typically on the ground floor, most of the places where it's all 450, 500 plus.
Yes,
you know
yes.
so and Bombay, anywhere you go in Bombay, even though in Bombay, we've been very eager to open in Borivali, so we finalized something in Borivali, finalized in other places. The rental range has kind of got capped, because all the builders, I think they have shared understanding, or they try and work it amongst themselves eventually in the market. So the rentals are in that 300 rupee range, more or less across Mumbai. Some places very high, like our restaurant in Nariman Point, we have a very high rental, just like BKC, and then some, but it's in that range.
So what's
300 is like the median.
what is the rental in Nariman Point?
There also it's about 500 rupees a square foot
Oh,
on the ground floor. Also, what happens is the problem is about the availability.
hmm.
I mean, when was the last? When has a new building been constructed in Nariman Point?
Yeah.
It's all the old buildings that have been there since 1980, 1990. So there's no new supply. The
Yes.
old supplies some people own. After many of these fire norm issues in Bombay with certain unfortunate incidents, the norms have also become more strict, or the buildings themselves are a little bit more cautious. नहीं हमको restaurant के लिए NOC नहीं देना है. So these factors play in. If you see the office rental market, office rentals are crashing today in Nariman Point. For office, there is no restriction. But when it comes to even BKC, if you see, the rentals are falling. But when it comes to retail, that is like restaurant, or even if you take shopping, or for shops, these kind of things, there is a difficulty, or there's a lack of supply, which immediately pushes up the price.
So what's the reason for office rental? Is like no one is coming to office, or people are laying off too much, or
So
what?
office rental, what has happened in the office rental market? See, when Nariman Point, see, this happens in hotel industry also. Whenever anything becomes too expensive, the market shifts. People don't want to pay beyond a particular price that they have. Why
Hmm.
do you think, who has developed Thailand, who has developed Vietnam as a tourist destination? The Indian hotel industry and the Indian airline industry. We have made our things so expensive that लोगों को लगता है कि it's better to go there. सस्ता है, अच्छा है, where Bombay, Delhi, Bombay, Goa flights are charging 15,000 rupees one way. You are getting 7,000 rupees one way to an international destination where the hotels also are much better, the infrastructure there, and you can. So people have an option. Okay, same way has happened in the rental market and offices. Parel came up. Parel was never office. Today Parel is a leading office destination. The buildings became much better. The facilities and amenities for the office were much better. Connectivity was also better because obviously it was connected to Dadar, Parel, various other stops. And so Funnyman Point actually got a hit when everybody started shifting there. Then they realized that's why they started renovating their buildings, improving. Then obviously BKC came up, or rather BKC came up, but BKC was originally was only about the corporate offices. Only if you had a particular individual, it was not small offices. But Parel was with small offices. Smaller offices could take smaller places. So like this, the market keeps shifting. I mean, today look at Andheri East. Andheri East has become the next major market when it comes to office. Sakinaka, Andheri East, then of course Powai got developed. So there it has got spread, but in case of restaurant, it has not got spread for that reason.
And so help us understand, Vikram, in terms of restaurant economics. If someone is paying 500 square feet rent versus 300, so what are the costs involved and what's the breakdown? How much a typical restaurant can earn?
See, it's a very, very, it's a very difficult question to answer because the restaurant is not one thing. You can have a restaurant with alcohol, you can have a restaurant without alcohol. It can be a lounge, it can be a family bar and restaurant, it can be a quarter bar.
With assumption,
So it's very, yeah,
help us.
there are too many assumptions to make. But I just to give you an insight, which as I guess your objective of asking the question is that when typically the rentals have gone a little bit higher, especially in South Mumbai, because most of the places have become lounge, nightclub, bar.
Mm.
And in a lounge, nightclub, bar, unlike a typical restaurant, you don't need a lot of kitchen area, you don't need a back area. The bar is in the front of the house. Okay, what we term front of the house is called where the guests can actually see or actually experience. And back of the house is like areas like housekeeping, kitchen area, wash up, where normally the guest never goes. So in a bar or restaurant, you don't need that much of area because what typically tends to happen is everything is front of the house. Secondly, आपने bottle खोल दिया, glass में डाल दिया और serve कर दिया. There's no preparation required when it comes to a bar.
Mm.
And unlike food, which you can eat up to maybe 800, 900 grams at best, when it comes to alcohol, you can drink a lot, go to the washroom, come back, drink a lot, go to the washroom, come back, drink a lot. So the amount you spend, in a cycle is much more than you would. And if you see the APC of a average per customer spend on alcohol,